Hi everyone, welcome to the Learn Design with Dami UI UX Masterclass. I'm so excited to have you all here. So I had to do the recording for the session again because I had a bit of a sound itch in the previous recording. So that's why I came a bit late. But I'm super glad you're here to watch how the session went. Alright, so user interface and user experience design masterclass by myself, Oluwadamilola Shirembo. So it's nice to meet you. I'm Dami. I'm a UI UX designer and an educator. I'm also the founder of TCK Zone. TCK Zone is an NGO that trains kids in technology skills for free. So today, these are the following points we'll be discussing. We'll be talking about what is UI UX design, what are the principles and fundamentals of designs, what are design elements, colors, typography, grids, white spaces, etc. What is the UX design process, where we have design thinking, sketching, wireframing, and so on. We'll be learning about user research, we'll be learning about information architecture versus user flows. We'll also be talking about hi-fi designs, how to design high fidelity designs, talking about prototyping, responsive designs, creating a portfolio for yourself, presenting your designs. We'll also be talking about getting UI UX design jobs, your career as a UI UX designer, and also follow-up classes after this particular one. So I think the first question I would like to ask is, when you hear the word design, what comes to your mind? So as you watch this, I would like you to interact with me in the comment section beneath this video and just tell me your answers. Like for every activity or every question, right, you can just tell me your answers in the comment section. I would love to hear them. So what comes to your mind like when you hear the word design? So during the class, someone said, oh, creativity. Another person said, okay, solving a problem using graphical illustrations and all that. So like when you hear the word design, what particular thing comes to mind? You need to understand that as an individual. So design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. So this was said by Steve Jobs. So it's very important for you to note that design is not just all about okay how a particular thing looks like or how it feels like. Design is about how it works. How does that particular thing work? How does that particular thing solve a problem or the problem you face as a user? Okay, design is one all around us. So when you think about all of your activities from waking up to sleeping each and every day, you will get to know that design is all around you. So let me explain this. So, take for instance, you as a person, right? You wake up each day, being able to make a decision, or you say, "Oh, should I do my devotion first, or should I just head straight to the bedroom and take my freshen up and brush my teeth, or should I read my daily affirmations, or should I check my email, or should I open social media?" You being able to think about all of these processes and then choose a pattern or choose a particular one you want to do first is design, right? Okay, another example is take for instance the toothbrush that you use every day. Okay, it was designed for a particular purpose, right? There are different type of toothbrushes. You pick the one that you love more, right? So everything you use on a day-to-day basis has design written all over it, from the bed you sleep on to the table you eat on to the laptop you're watching this thing on or your mobile phone. All of like every object, every scenario, or every process like has a bit of design in it. So design is all around us. Design is problem solving, right? Being able to look at a particular problem and provide a solution to it is design. It could be a mathematical problem, it could be a real life problem, it could be a problem at work, it could be anything whatsoever. Being able to look at a problem and provide a solution to it is design. Design is aesthetics. Okay, so I've mentioned a lot about design is all around us, design is problem solving. Design, most importantly, is aesthetics, meaning how it looks as well, right? So, how it looks, how a particular thing looks, or how a particular solution to a problem looks is also very important. So, you have to have that in mind, right? Even though design is everywhere we go to, design is problem solving, you have to also take note that design is, it's also important to take note of how that design looks. Design is practicing. You being able to become a very good designer is all about constant practice, right? I wouldn't get to where I am today if I stopped practicing. You realize that when you stop doing something, you tend to lose the vibe, you tend to lose that particular skill bit by bit, right? And also in the design world, even in technology world at large, if you decide within yourself to just take a break and not practice or not read about, okay, what is trending now, what is happening now, what are the new things in vogue and all of those things, you would find out that you are beginning to lag behind, like you're beginning to lag, right? It's something you shouldn't stop practicing as a designer, right? You can only get better every time when you practice. And last but not the least, design is asking questions. Being able to ask questions to your users, to your clients, your stakeholders, to people around you, being able to ask questions, oh, why, what, where, when, how, all of these questions is what makes design. Being able to ask, okay, what problem are you experiencing? No, how can I provide a solution? Or what do you use to do this? How can I make it better? Being able to ask questions is design. It's important for us to note each and every definition, and there are a lot more definitions to what design is, right? So design is everywhere, right? And today the aspect we'll be taking is UI and UX design. So what is UI UX design? So I'd like someone to tell me, okay, what's the full meaning of UI, and also what's the full meaning of UX. You can just drop it in the comment section so I know you're following. So what does UI stand for, and what does UX stand for? Like the full meaning, like the full word. So UI design, it focuses on what the users see. UI design focuses on what the users see. It's important for you to take note of like these definitions, right? So UI design focuses on what the users see. So if you got definition correct, UI stands for user interface. User interface. So user interface design focuses on what the users see. A UI designer will normally think about, oh, when a user is looking at an app or a mobile application or a product, right? Like what would they see? What are their eyes actively looking at? A UI designer will think about, oh, icons, buttons, or the typography, the colors, the spacing, the images, and like responsive design. That's what a UI designer would be bothered about. That's what a UI designer would think about. So that's UI design, focuses on what the users see. And now onto UX design. UX design stands for user experience design. User experience design, and it's the process of enhancing the user's satisfaction. How do I explain this? it tells you, or it helps solve the problem. Okay, how do users feel when they're using your app, right? Or are they finding it difficult? Are they finding it easy to use? Is it solving the right problems for them? Is it stressing them out? Right? So, a UX designer would think about how the experience makes the users feel and how easy it is for the users to accomplish their desired tasks, how it makes the users feel, and how easy it is for the user to accomplish the desired task. So I'd like to ask a question. So have you ever used any application that you found super stressful that you just had to just annoyingly uninstall the application and just quit the app? Like you were trying to do a particular thing, you couldn't find a way around the app, you didn't know, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do this or to get here, and all of that. You've had like bad or tedious experiences with any app. Can you just share a bit, like an example, like if there's anyone that has, you've downloaded an app and you found it really difficult to use, you couldn't understand it firsthand, you can just share an example with me, the name of the app, and the experience you had that was difficult. Like, just share your experience with me in the comment section. Okay, so users are already using your app. They're paying you, or maybe not paying you, to use your app. So you don't necessarily need to stress them. You need to make things easier for them to do, right? So that's where user experience comes in. Okay, you need to think about, okay, how would the user feel when they're using this particular application? Am I making it harder? Am I making it easier? That's user experience design. So here are some of the design tools you'd likely use as a UI and UX designer. So we have Figma, we have Adobe XD, Sketch, InVision App, Figma X, Marvel, Proto.io, Zeppelin, Miro, Balsamic, Principle. There are still a lot more design tools, right? So I don't preach design tools, I preach design. You need to understand design principles, design element, the basics of design. Because when it comes to design tools, if you understand the basics of design, if you understand how to design, you can easily jump on any of these tools and be able to make use of them. Like I said, I can use any of these tools listed here, and that's because I understand design itself, right? All of these tools have similar like user interfaces. They look the same, they function almost the same, right? They can help you achieve the same thing, but it's not about the tool you use. It's about can you design. It's about, do you have what it takes to design something? Do you understand all of the processes? Do you understand what it entails to design, right? So I would often advise designers, pick one tool that you're really comfortable using. Pick one particular tool and master that tool in and out. Like, it can wake you from your sleep and you can design with that tool. So pick one tool and master that particular tool. So I started my design journey using Figma, and I've so much gotten so comfortable with Figma that Figma comes to mind, like when first when talking about design tools for me. Like, for other designers, I can use any of these other tools, as I said, but I use Figma, and I'll be using Figma for this training because Figma is very, very collaborative. It's a collaborating design tool. So I can be designing on a particular Figma board, and all I have to do is share the link with you, and you can see what I'm designing real time. You can also add your comment. You can even join me in designing, and we both can edit a design file together, right? So Figma is also a web-based tool. You can use it on web-based. You can use it on the web without having to install the desktop application if you don't want to. It also saves your work to the cloud automatically, and now they've added this offline saving feature as well. So it's Figma is one tool I go to first, like when thinking about, okay, a new designer starting out design, just wanting to learn things very quickly and all that. So as I said, we'll be using Figma for the rest of this masterclass. So next thing we want to talk about are design principles and fundamentals. Design principles and fundamentals. The first design principle we want to talk about is alignment. Alignment. Alignment is one crucial thing we need to know when designing. Okay, so what are design principles? Design principles are, let's say, the foundation of designs. Like, what are the core things you need to know before you start out any design? What are the things guiding that particular process, that particular thing, right? So these are like design fundamentals that you need to know. So in every design that you be embarking on, you'd have to apply these principles. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is alignment. The alignment is very crucial when designing. There's sometimes you visit a couple of sites and it just looks off to you, right? Sometimes it's not because the color is bad or the text is bad or they don't have nice images. Sometimes it's all about the alignment. Sometimes it's all about the layer, the like how they arrange things on the site. Okay, so alignment is one important thing, being able to align your text. So if you use Microsoft Word, um you understand, okay, left align, center align, right align, then justify, right? Yeah, so it's the same thing for design too. So there you need to be cautious of all of your alignments and ensure, if it's center align you want to do, make sure it's center align. If it's left align, make sure it's left align. So we'll be talking about that like as we go on in the design particle itself. The next point I want to talk about is proximity. Proximity. So take for instance, I'll be using an example. So proximity is, so users tend to group so elements that they see that are close to each other. Users will tend to group it as being like part of the same group, part of the same section. Okay. Let me use an example. So they'll be using so let's take for instance, let me just open Facebook real quick. I'll be using that to show you an example. All right, so if you look at this left hand side, you see that a user would normally categorize all this as being like one category. Then they will come to this story section and say, okay, this is another category. And then they will come to the right hand side and say, okay, this is another category. Or sponsors, this is another category. Your pages, this is another category. That's because users tend to group elements that are closer in proximity to themselves as being together, as being in one category, as being related. Okay, so that's proximity. That's proximity. The next one I want to talk about is repetition. Repetition. Okay, so it's same way. So if you are using the proximity functionality of fundamental, right, it's also important to note that, okay, if you follow the same pattern or you follow the same way it's designed, people also group it as being together, when they see something of the same pattern, when they see something of the same shape, right? Yes, they tend to group it together as a section as well. Okay, I'll use this same page as example. So the people see, apart from the closeness, apart from the proximity of each of these sections because they look similar, right? They made use of repetition, like right, repeated the same like look of these sections. You see this live section, oh, it has curved edges, it has a circle in the middle, and all of that. People would also tend to group it as being together. Next, the next thing we want to do is emphasis. Emphasis. So, emphasis is okay when you're trying to lay, you want something to be louder than the rest. You want a particular element or section or text or button to be louder than the rest. All you have to do is do something to it that would call it out of the other group. Take for instance, you have a lot of blue. Blue is a primary color on a particular website, but you want to lay emphasis on a particular button. All you have to do is get a complementary color and use it for that button or for that text. Right? When it's a particular thing stands out, people, the users will tend to see it more, and that's what like emphasis is all about. That's what emphasis is all about. The next one we have is contrast. Contrast. It's very important for you to understand contrast because when it comes to picking colors, this one thing is what will guide you, right? So, black and white is a typical example of contrast, right? On a black background, if you put a white text, users would easily see it, comfortably see it. On a white background, if you put a black text, users will comfortably see it. But I've seen some designers to put dark red on navy blue. Like, and you as users, you now start straining your eyes to see that kind of text. Or somebody putting white on sky blue, like very light blue. It's like very, very light blue. The one I have here is like clear enough, right? But I've seen users put white text on very light, like really light blue. So you have to strain your eyes as a user to be able to read those texts, be able to click, see if there's a button there and all of that. And it shouldn't be like that. So that's where contrast come in. So there are a lot of tools that can help you in determining the right contrast between colors or the right colors to use based on like that contrast percentage. Okay, and we'll be talking about as we dive deeper into today's class. Next one we have is balance. You need to be able to balance up every element you're using on your design. We'll be talking about design elements soon. Your images, icons, colors, being able to balance them up. Don't make something too much or too little or all of that. So you need to understand how to balance up everything. Another principle we have is hierarchy. So take for instance a blog. When you visit a blogging or a news site and all of that, you see one big header that says breaking news or something like that is big. Then other text are now small. Then for another section you see bigger text. So all of that is like what hierarchy is. It shows you okay, this is most important, followed by this, then followed by this. Okay, you read the first line first, then you read the second line. Not really line, like the biggest text first, the next one, and the next slide. So that's how hierarchy plays. It can be used in text, images, like different ways like that. And last but not the least, I'm talking about white space. White space, not it does not necessarily mean like the space needs to be white. White space is you being able to, like when designing, you're giving enough breathing space to your element. You're giving enough breathing space to your element. So one typical example that I normally use to explain the very good use of white space is Apple's website. Okay, so Apple's website, they used white spaces a lot. Like they give their elements breathing space. Okay, right. As I said, white space doesn't necessarily mean it is white. Like for instance, this background is black, but it has enough white space. Okay, so it important to give your designs breathing space. It makes your work look sophisticated and clean and top notch. Okay, so white space is one element that is important. Don't just cluster up all your designs because you're trying to save space and all of that. No, don't do that. Give your elements space to breathe. Okay, so there's a difference between white space and just putting empty space, right? There's a difference between those two, and I won't be going deeper into that, but I just want you to understand like white space as a design principle. Okay, yes, so let's proceed. Design elements. So we've talked about design principles. Now we're talking about design elements. Design elements are the key elements of the key ins or the key components that make up your design. Okay, so for every website you visit, every web page, every mobile app, every design you see, if you are to split them down into tiny bits, into tiny elements, what are the things you would see? Okay, so take for instance the Facebook page I opened, or the Apple page. You realize that first thing you see, or one of the things you see, are colors, right? You see colors, you see your text, your typography, you see icons, that's iconography, you see grids and layout. Layout is like how the sections are being, like how the margin is, how the sections are divided, all of those things. So grids and layout. You also see images, and lastly the language of the site, like the mood the site is trying to like bring, the vibe, kind of vibe it's trying to bring. So all of these elements for every design, or every design, you get to see each and every of these things, right? Colors, text, icons, images, the grids, and also the language that the product, or the mood that the product is trying to give. So, what's a typical UX design process? So we have our design thinking process here, and I'm going to explain that to us briefly. So we have empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and testing. So what is empathize and like empathy? What is empathy? Empathy is you being able to understand, or being able to put yourself in your user's shoes, being able to understand the user's problems. And you cannot understand the user's problem if you don't research thoroughly. Okay, if you base your designs on assumptions, you will get to see that you're not actually solving anybody's problem. But as a good designer, you need to empathize. You need to actually understand, know what the users want, or what is the right problem to solve, and also what is the right solution to prefer. Okay, so you need to empathize with them, carry out your research, speak with them, your interviews, and all of that. So understand them, empathize with them. Okay, empathize with them. Next one is define. You need to clearly define the problem. You need to clearly define your audience. You need to clearly define who is this for, okay, and what is the solution we are providing at this particular time for them. So you need to clearly define everything before you dive into design itself. Okay, after defining a problem, next thing you need to do is ideate. Ideate meaning you need to think thoroughly. Okay, I know my problem, I'm trying to find out the best solution for them. Okay, right? Okay, Addition processes, there are a lot of them, like sketching, like designing your wireframes, like carrying out, like drawing out your user flows, like ideating, just trying to figure out, okay, this is how I should go about designing this particular solution that I've defined. This is how I should go about putting this out there for them to see, for them to use. So it's just thinking about the different methods, thinking about the different ways it could play out. That's your ideation. Then your prototyping, being able to create your designs in such a way that users can start interacting with them as fast as possible. Okay, your could be your low fidelity prototype, it could be mid fidelity prototype, it could be high fidelity prototype. Okay, being able to create something for them that they can use, or that they can look at and say, okay, this is a design that you've given me. Okay, so that's prototyping. Then we have testing. Test. It's always important that at every stage of your design you test with users, right? Don't just go too far into your design and not test. From your low fidelity prototypes, from your wireframes, you need to start testing with users. You need to ask them questions and say, okay, what do you see about this? Can you interact with this prototype without needing any help from me? Is it smooth to use? So that it's very important to test at the earlier stage of your designs, so you'd save a lot of time, save a lot of money, right? Instead of doing a lot, and at the end of the design, you finish design, you finish coding, you've added everything, then you just tell you, no, this isn't solving any problem for me, it's even increasing the problem. You don't want that. You really do not want that. So it's important for you to test along the way. And when you test and you see that, okay, something can still be better, you go back to your definition stage. Okay, when you prototype and you see that, oh, something can still be better, you go back to your ideation stage. So design thinking process is not just a linear process, so from here to here. It's like it keeps going back in cycles. It keeps going back to the previous step until you finally get to your destination. But let me not say destination, because for every design you have to keep iterating. Till tomorrow, Facebook will still keep iterating and adding new features, okay, or making things look better. Instagram, for instance, now they moved the add post icon to the top. It was at the bottom before. So all of those things, it keeps going. The design thinking process keeps going in circles over and over and over. For every new feature you have to add, you come back to this drawing board, you come back to this process. Okay, so another way of explaining that is, okay, product definition, you research, analysis, design, and validation. So our project for today. So today we'll be designing a digital marketplace for painters or artists who are looking to showcase and sell their artworks, and buyers who are looking to purchase artworks. Okay, so this is our project for today. I don't know if anyone listening can tell me, when you look at this project topic, can you actually define, okay, the problems we are trying to solve? What problem exactly are we trying to solve for, one, the artist or the painter, and two, the buyer or buyers? Okay, what exact problem are we trying to solve? So you can just drop your comments in comment section, and just let me know, what problems do you think we're trying to solve? So some of the participants mentioned that, okay, so for artists, some of the artists do not have a studio to showcase their work or to sell their work, right? So that's we're trying to save them the cost of getting a studio. Okay, another person mentioned that okay, for buyers, not everybody has the time to visit art galleries. Okay, but if there was a place for them to see artworks that they love, search by artist or by colors or all of that, and you just buy from there, they would want to buy those things more. Okay, someone else mentioned that the problem we're trying to solve, well, the artist as well is sometimes a lot of them have good, like a lot of them have really really good artworks, but it's just they're lying in their room or they're using their WhatsApp status, and that's like little eyes or little viewers compared to what amount of eyes should be seeing their beautiful work. Okay, some of them don't have the money to go and put their art in all these fancy art galleries, so they need more audience, more visibility, they need more money. For buyers, they want to save time, they want to be able to compare costs or prices and all of that. So here are like the different problems we're trying to solve from this particular project. So you can don't forget, add your own comments. I would like to really hear from you. What problems you think we're trying to solve here for the artist and also for the buyer? So here is a checklist that we'll be doing today. So talking about the brief, creating a brief, user personas, be able to creating like a user behavior diagram, like information architecture, sketching, wireframing, visualization, and all of that. So we'll be picking all of these points one after the other, and we'll be working on them. Okay, so the first thing I always like to start with is user research. So why is this? I know previously I asked us to mention, okay, what are the problems artists and buyers are facing that will make them need this particular project that we're working on. I know a lot of us have mentioned like different problems. We have a lot of problems that we think we're solving on our head, but you need to understand that you are not the users. You need to understand that you are not what? You are not the user, you are the designer. And it's important that you should not make assumptions. Like all of the problems we've listed before, right? They're what? Assumptions. What we assume is the problem we're solving for the user. But as a designer, you shouldn't work on assumptions, except when it's like super critical, like and you have no other choice. Okay, try as much as possible to carry out your research. Find out what exactly the users want. Find out the exact problems that they have so you can provide the right solution to them. Okay, so that's where user research comes in. That's where user research comes in. So there are like two major types of or categories. There's qualitative research and there is a quantitative research. The qualitative research has to do with quality, getting quality feedback from users. Quality feedback in such a way that okay, an example is conducting like a user interview for like 5 to 10 people. In that place, you get to sit down, have a sit down with these users, and you get to hear from them firsthand. So interviews, usability studies, focus groups, and for you get to ask the question why. Why? Oh, why do you do this way? Why is this way? Why? Okay. So that's qualitative research. Qualitative research. For qualitative research, at least a minimum of 5 people would do. Then go to quantitative research. So quantity, it has to do with being able to like measure behavioral pattern or behavioral flows, being able to find out an analytics or a percentage. Oh, it's also percentage of people love doing this, right? And I think for here, being able to say, okay, you've done a great work, or you've been able to say, okay, I think you should have like 80 users. 80 users is fair enough, right? So that the quantity, so if out of those 80 users, you see that 90% of the users say that they would love to make more money from their artwork, and who didn't have money to pay for an art studio, and they wouldn't mind having a digital platform, then you know that yes, I am on the right track in this project that I'm doing. But if after our quantitative research, or we send out surveys, or we send out like a poll or something, and we have 85% of people saying that, hey, I'm already fine with what I have. I design and I put it on Instagram and I get my users, my buyers. If 85% of people are saying that, then you see that, okay, maybe there's no need to even design this. Let's explore other like solutions. Okay, so quantitative research is also very important. And one other thing I like to do is competitors analysis. Competitors analysis. So I always say this thing. When you think about any problem or any idea, just have it at the back of your mind that someone somewhere has solved that problem before. Right? No matter how novel you think your idea is, someone somewhere has solved it before. So you need to find out who those people are. You need to find out who those people are. So you have your direct competitors, people in the same, doing the same thing that you want to do. Those are direct competitors. The same thing that you want to do. There will be a lot of them, even for this project we're doing. Then you need to find out who your indirect competitors are. They might not necessarily be doing the same thing you are doing, but they might not necessarily be doing the same thing you're doing, but they're in the same maybe space, or they're doing something related to what you're about to do. Take for instance, we're designing a digital marketplace, an online marketplace. Your indirect competitors would be other online marketplace, not necessarily those doing art or not necessarily related to art, but like indirect competitors, like other online marketplaces. Okay. So yes, so that's what we'll be doing now, user research. So for our user research, we'll be doing a quantitative research, like creating a survey, and we'll also be doing competitors analysis. Okay, so I don't know how many of us know how to create surveys and all of that. So yes, I'll be teaching us how to create a survey and what we're going to be needing, like what type of questions you need to ask. So right now, I want you to start thinking of questions. Start thinking of questions. Think of about 10 questions you can add to your survey. 10 questions that will help you find out what do these users really want. Okay, 10 questions that can help you find out the right programs they are facing as artists, as an art lover, You need to find out, like, try to think about 10 questions. 10 questions you can ask your users. You can ask people. You can ask your potential users. And once you're done creating those 10 questions, I'll be sharing with you how to create a survey, like a Google form. A Google form. So I believe, so you can just pause the video now and come up with your 10 questions. So I believe we've been able to come up with our 10 questions. So if you have, then just proceed with me. So I go to forms.google.com. So just open your browser and go to forms.google.com. forms.google.com. Okay, next thing you need to do, you're creating a blank form. So you just click on the blank. Alright, so you see that we have untitled form. Okay, so the first thing we need to change, let's change the title of our form. So for me, I'll just write product survey. The product survey for the digital marketplace. Product survey for a digital marketplace. So my questions are ready. Okay, so basically, we're dealing with two categories of users here, right? Okay, so we need to find out, okay, which category do each user filling our survey fall under. So this is for me. So for you, you don't necessarily have to follow my same questions or my same pattern. Okay, so I'll just be showing you how to create the survey. So first I want to find out, okay, which category does the user filling the survey at that time fall under. So which of the following category would you categorize yourself? Would you categorize yourself? So are you an artist or painter? Or are you an art lover? Or none of the above? Okay, so see that, okay, we need, okay, are you an artist? Are you an art lover? If you're none of the above, then you are probably not our potential user. Okay, so none of the above would just take you out of the form. That's what I want to do. So I want artists and painters to have their own set of questions. I want art lovers to have their own set of questions. So I'm going to make this one required, and because I need users to answer this, because to determine the next section they are to go to. So I'm adding a new section for artists. Then I'll add a third section. So you can add section using this Yeah, so you can add section using this lower add section icon here. Okay, so art lovers. So I have a section for artists and I have another section for art lover. Okay, so here, what I want to do is look at these three dots here, right? Click on it and say go to section based on answer. So click and go to section based on answer. Okay, so artist and painter, what should happen? Okay, go to section 2. Art lover, what should happen? If I click on art lover, what should happen? Go to art lover section. Then if I click none of the above, what should happen? Let just tell you to submit the form. Let's just tell you to submit the form. Alright, so here I'm going to add my questions. So how long have you been designing? Oh, sorry, how long have you been into art? How long have you been into art? I have multiple choice, 0 to 2 years, 3 to 6 years, or above 6 years. And another question. So what do you do with your art? What do you do with your art? Is it just for showcasing? Are they just for showcasing? Or do you sell them? Or you do both? Do you do both? Or you can just add it an order so that they can add their other options. Okay, what did you do your art? What do you do with your art? Next question would be, okay, what medium do you use for the above? Is it social media? Do you have a personal art gallery? Do you put your art in other galleries? You put your art in other art galleries or add other, so they just drop it there. Okay. So next question I want to add for artists is what would you say has been your greatest challenge? What would you say has been your biggest challenge? What would you say has been the biggest challenge you face in your art business so far? Then let them just type this in. What would you see as being your biggest challenge in your art business so far? If there was a digital, like an online marketplace, would you use it? There was an online marketplace where you could go to display your artwork. Or you could display your artwork for buyers to see. Would you use it? If there was an online marketplace where you could display your, would you use it? Would you use it? So I'm having yes and no. What means of payments? To hear my own questions, hope you've thought about your 10 questions, so you can also add them. Okay, so I'd like to know, like, how would the artist want to pay the platform for being on there and posting their art? Okay, so do they want commission? They want commission on each sold item? Do they want donation? Do they just want it for free? Okay, all of those things you need to find out from the user. I think for the artist, the last question would be, so do you know of any other online platform that currently does this? Because you want to find out, okay, do you have a competitor that your potential users are already using? Okay, so that you'll be able to study those competitors properly. So if yes, add the name. If no, leave blank. Okay. All right. So for my art lovers, I think their questions would be brief, not as much as like the artist itself. Okay. So how do you normally buy your artworks, or where do you go to buy your artworks? Do I visit art galleries or on social media, or they can just add the others? How often do you buy artwork? Because you need to understand that. How often do you buy artworks? So I don't buy artworks. Sometimes, or let me say frequently. So it's very important. You might be wondering, oh, why am I taking so long in getting the software ready and all of that? It's very important that you find out what your users want. You need to find out what your users want. So, what has been your biggest challenge when it comes to buying artworks or viewing? So, what has been your biggest challenge? So, I'll just leave them there to write something. And okay, so if there was an online platform, if there was an online marketplace where you could view artworks from your favorite artists, would you use it? Would you use it? Would you use it? Do you know of any online platform that currently does this? If yes, you share the name. If yes, please share the name. So I think we've come to the end of a form. So, okay, how do you now share this form with people? All you have to do is click on send. Then you see email link. Okay, that's what you need. So click on this link. Then you can shorten the URL. Copy this URL. Just copy, right? When you copy, you can paste it where you can share it with your friends on WhatsApp. You can share it with like your social media network. Like just share that particular link with people. You can just tell them briefly what you're about. Here, just come here to presentations, settings, presentations. Oh, thank you for filling out the survey for me. Thank you for your response. Your feedback has been recorded. There you can add a form description if you like. It's not so compulsory. So I added something like, oh, hello, you're UX Masterclass. We need so you can just add like something to tell them, okay, what this particular survey is about. Oh, hello, UX Masterclass. So I'm carrying out like a qualitative research. I want to find out, okay, what you think about this. So all of those things. So you can change the title of your form and all of that. So that's basically how to create a survey when you want to carry out like quantitative research. So there are different other types of survey. This one I use now is Google form. So when you share your link and people start filling it out, you get to see all of your responses here. You get to see all of your responses here. So based on your response, you can analyze the data and find out, okay, what do users, what do painters really want, what do art lovers really want. All right. So next thing, as I said, I want you to do is competitors analysis. So for your competitors analysis, what I want you to do is take a sheet of paper or your notepad and go online. Just go online and search for online art platforms. So where can I buy art online? Like just search for other things related or other companies or other products that are already doing this particular thing want to do. You find out that a lot of people out there, a lot of products out there that really do this. They are really doing what we are about to do right now. Just go online and search for your direct competitors. And I said, who are direct competitors? Direct competitors are people doing this exact same thing. Or selling artworks, digital online marketplace for artists and buyers. So go and check them out and list out. So give me about three. Okay, so you can snap once you're done, you can snap it and send it to me via any of my social media platforms. I would leave the link below in the comment in the description. Okay, so on the notepad, just write um, three direct competitors, the links, and write the pros and cons. Right, why you need to take note of the pros and cons is because for the pros you need to understand, okay, what are they really doing well? Why would users keep coming to their site? And then for the cons you need to understand, okay, how can I make my own site better? Okay, what are the things that are doing badly or poorly that I can improve on to ensure that every user comes to use my own platform instead of going to the competitor's platform? Okay, so all of those things are what I want you to list out in your notepad. Okay, so three direct competitors with their pros and cons, and also list out three indirect competitors. So indirect competitors are those that are not necessarily doing the same thing or selling the same thing as you are. They're not necessarily in the same niche, but like something is related to you too. So for instance, an online marketplace is a keyword that you can use to get indirect competitors. There are like several online marketplace, Amazon, eBay, Jumia, Konga, like several marketplaces, online marketplace, right? That you can go to. So search for about three. Also write their pros and cons. It's also important for you to look at what is existing in terms of okay, how online marketplaces work, find all the advantages of this side, and also look out for the cons, look at the disadvantage, look at the things that could be improved on, right? And just write about three of them as well. So pros and cons, um, yes. So all of those things. So it's important that I said new idea out there that has not been implemented, or no problem out there that has not been solved by someone before. So you need to note all of that and yes, start from there. Start from there. Pick up ideas from there and improve on them. So that's computers analysis. I'll be looking forward to your survey responses, and I'll also be looking forward to your computers analysis page as well. Yes, so I'll be breaking this video into two parts. So just follow me to the next part of this video where we'll now be going into the full practical section of our design project.